Welcome to another Good e-reader video comparison. This is Michael.
This is Peter.
And today we're going to take a look at the Apple iPad 3, or the new iPad, versus the Nook Tablet. We're going to check out e-reading, comic book reading, and a whole lot more. So Peter's going to tell you a little bit about the hardware.
Alright, we're not going to give you 360s of each of the devices because you guys probably know what these are all about. You've seen what these all look like. If you want to get a closer look, you can look at the individual reviews of both of these. The display on the Barnes & Noble Nook Tablet, 1024 by 600, which is very much smaller than the 2048 by 1536 on the iPad, the new iPad 3. This is kind of what it's got going for it, is the massive resolution. Otherwise, these guys both have dual-core processors. They both have 1 gig of RAM. This is Android. This is Apple. The Apple actually has a quad-core graphics processor, so that's probably going to really shine when it comes to videos and all that. This is a 7-inch tablet. This is a 9.7, so obviously, yes, you do see that there is a massive difference in the screen size, but it's all about what delivers the best overall experience based on price, all that kind of thing. We're not going to show who really wins. We're just going to show you the best of both of these devices and how they shine in different categories.
Yeah, I mean, at Good e-reader, we put a priority on reading, and a lot of people buy the Nook Tablet obviously for reading. The Apple iPad does e-reading and comic book reading very, very well, and so we're going to basically put these two head to head, and if you're thinking about purchasing either of these devices, you'll get a sense on what they do and what they don't do. So the first thing that we're going to do is look at an ebook, Pride and Prejudice. It's a free open source book. I'll bring myself to the same page. Yeah.
Oh, well, the text is different, so we can just go to any page.
Okay, so here we go. Of course, with this sort of thing, you can change the fonts. You can change the screen. With this, you sort of don't really get like visual cues or anything like that, but it is pretty like live, so depending on how small or large you like your text, you can do that all in real time using the Ibooks application, which is my go-to application, mainly because this is the best one to sideload your own books. What that means is I could download books from all over the internet and then use iTunes to copy these books to my device, and so I like doing that. And of course, you can change your fonts. You can also change your theme. So if you're reading at night, you can change that to nighttime reading mode. It's easier on the eyes with the black background. If you're in a dark room, the glaring white background really eats at your eyes after a while. Also, full screen toggles. You can also take notes and annotations. And Peter's going to demonstrate all that right here. So you can copy, highlight, take notes. You can do a search. All these notes sort of are persistent and saved, so if I close this book and reopen it at a later time, those notes are there. And you can see a little note thing right there. It's like a visual cue. So this is good if you're like in a book club, if you're reading some sort of academic text or anything like that. And now let's take a look at the Nook Tablet.
Alright. So you can do kind of the same thing with highlight, notes, share, look up, find, all that kind of stuff. You can expand your highlight range to get certain phrases or paragraphs. Oh, I have exited out. You can also change the text, and this one actually does have visual cues as to what it might look like when you or at least the range of how many choices you have, really. So they can be pretty large, which gets a little annoying on a small screen, but you know, if you need the extra boost of zoom, you do have that option. You have several different fonts. I'd say about 8. You have night mode, much like the Apple iPad, so like Michael said, if the strain of the white is getting to you, you can make it a little dim, like with the gray, or you can go all white or black. You have margins, so you can expand the borders to be more centered or in the middle or full on. You also have line spacing, so if you want to compress the difference in the spaces of each sentence, you can make it far apart so you don't get confused and read the same sentence twice, or you can go full out. Or you can turn on publisher defaults. This is for when you download a book. This is how the publisher would have optimized all these settings for how the book should be viewed, so you can go ahead and do that if you've downloaded a book.
I actually like the way that the Nook handles this sort of thing. Everything's in one place, and this is one of the things that I like about the Nook Tablet versus really any of the other dedicated e-readers out there. Even Ibooks doesn't really allow you to do margins or line spacing, and I think that's huge because you can see here that there's a large gap here. Well, if I want to change that, I'm kind of out of luck. I do like the page turn animations here. The ability to peek on the next page. You can see it's super fluid. There's no lag or anything like that. Whereas the Nook Tablet isn't really that elegant, but it does get the job done. And if you do put it in landscape mode, once I take the orientation lock off, you can see that it almost looks like a real book. And this is one of the things I really like about it. I prefer to read in landscape mode over portrait mode because there's more text that's on the screen, and you can see here that the binding ring, it feels like a real book, and I really like the emulation that they do here. It feels a lot like Google Books the way that it does it like this. What about the Nook Tablet? Can you read it in landscape mode or anything like that?
Yes, you can. No fancy bind or anything like that. Page turns are pretty much the same. You do get some sort of peeking. It's not really as book-esque as the the Apple iPad, but you get longer sentences. It's nothing too special. It's just landscape viewing possible.
So when it comes to ebooks, I find that the Nook Tablet is a very portable device. It really does fit in your back pocket. It doesn't weigh very much. It's easily carried in your purse, messenger bag, or however way that you carry things around. Even those Batman nerd belts that you hook your GPS and you have your gaming and everything like that. I'm sure that the Nook Tablet would fit easier on that than the Apple iPad would. The Apple iPad 3 or the new iPad definitely is not as portable. I do like its viewing surfaces a little bit better. So it is definitely a matter of preference on which device that you like to read. The Nook Tablet is geared towards e-reading, and that's the premise of it. The Apple iPad is basically geared towards everything: games, apps, movies, all that jazz. So now that we've given you a taste of the reading experience, let's take a look at the comic book experience. So we have the same comic book loaded up on the new iPad, Nook Tablet, The Avengers Disassembled. Give you a sense of the comic book experience here, and you can see both of them are optimized for the full screen. We don't really need to do any type of pinching and zooming or anything like that. So you can see that even though that the Nook Tablet has a bit of a smaller screen, it doesn't really look that bad.
Let's go to something with a little bit more color, maybe. Go a couple pages in so we can show some greens. There we go, blues and greens.
Alright, so you can pinch and zoom. What about comic framing and things like that? Does this allow you anything like that?
Doesn't look like I can single out any given frame, no. Oh, big explosion there.
And that's one of the kind of cool benefits that the iPad gives you, is that it does have dedicated e-reading comic apps, like we're using the Marvel app, and so it does give you a little bit more flexibility, and even different comic book apps like Comixology, DC Comics, they both have all these different types of tech that allow you to really kind of tailor your comic book experience, whereas with the Nook Tablet, it reads comics and you could buy comics, although I noticed with the Nook Tablet ecosystem, there is no Marvel app, there's no DC Comics app. You can only buy graphic novels from the Nook store, whereas with the Apple iPad, you can buy single issues, you can buy entire series. So the difference main between the ecosystems is that I think the iPad does a better job at giving you a more visceral comic book experience. You can also buy single issues, whereas with the Nook Tablet, it does do a fair job at giving you comics, but you can only buy graphic novels. So if you want to buy single issues, it becomes a little bit more complex. I definitely do think that the iPad is a little bit more fluid with like the page turns. You can see that I was flipping at a more accelerated rate than the Nook Tablet does, and I think partly it's due with like the graphics processor. So being a comic book lover like I am, I definitely will take the Apple iPad with the larger screen, able to show more art, less pinching and zooming. With the smaller screen here, it is hard to, I can't even see what that says, and I'm right in front of it, so you have to zoom in, whereas with this I could clearly see he says cap. Okay, so that's basically the comic book experience. Next, we're going to give you a sense of the video experience.
See that guy? That's me. Mind you use looking like this? I'm a writer.
Eddie, maybe it's time to let the writing go.
But just in case you think nothing ever happened to me.
Eddie Mora!
Hey! Tell me about this book. Well, how much have you written of it? Not one word. Well, I suppose I can help you with that. You know how they say that we can only access 20% of our brain? This lets you access all of it. They've had clinical trials and it's FDA approved. Alright, just out of curiosity, and that's all. I was blind, but now I see. A tablet a day, and I was limitless. I now had cultural appetites.
Since when do you speak Italian?
I finished my book in 4 days. I'd like to renegotiate my advance. Math became useful.
12,000 to 2.3 million in 10 days. I'm baffled by this guy.
So, Eddie Mora.
You do know you're a freak. What's your secret?
Medication.
Your powers are a gift from God or whoever the hell wrote your life script. I'll open up a line of credit for you. You'll be wanting a few toys.
How many of us ever know what it is to become the perfect version of ourselves? What's the asking price?
12.5.
I'll take it.
Okay, so this is the video experience. As you can see, like, they both did a pretty good job. I mean, this was an HD YouTube video, and the quality really wasn't that noticeable. What do you think?
I think that the just the iPad screen, the colors, the fact that it's just a touch smoother, just all comes together and just gives you a better video experience. Obviously, this is a much smaller device, does not have as good of a graphics processor as the Apple, and as not as good as a resolution as the iPad. I just think the iPad's a little bit better for videos. I mean, this is geared towards people who read. I mean, it's considered in color e-reader as much as it is a tablet, whereas this is mainly a multimedia tablet. I would say the Apple just does a little bit better.
I think so. I mean, the viewing size was a little bit bigger, and that's, you know, that's what struck me. So I would say the iPad probably does a better job just because of the large screen, whereas the Nook Tablet probably did equal of a job, but with a smaller screen, so there's less things happening, you know, whereas like on a smaller screen the video is just a little bit smaller, whereas the Apple iPad, I mean, it's a larger screen, so it's a little bit larger. Here's sort of how a magazine looks on here. So that's about it. We've showed you everything as far as the reading experience with both of these devices, and you can make your mind up for yourself which one you like better. So for Good e-Reader, my name is Michael.
This is Peter.
Everybody take care.